today, and we're talking social cohesion and nation building. And I guess this is a conversation, even though we've located it in the Free State, is a national conversation. And in fact, it's a Pan-African conversation as well. The African Union Summit, the 25th Summit, is taking place in Johannesburg right now. And so we could extend this right across the continent as you're watching from the various countries that you are. All right, so just before the break, I asked us to think about the thought of patriotism, because that's part of the whole nation building. I just want to get a quick comment from you, MEC, and you, Prof, as well on that. Let's start with you, MEC.
Well, I think we should try and learn from what we see as we visit other countries. You know, when you go to Cuba and you see how people in Cuba love their country, it always encourages you to come back and never stop preaching about patriotism. We're not doing well in the Free State. You know, we're not doing bad in the Free State. We met with one Free Stater when I visited one of the outside countries, a white person. And you know, the warmth which was there could show that South Africans are together in a foreign land and they are happy to be together. What we need to do as the citizens, not only government, is to ensure that we continue preaching that we are South Africans, above it all, Free Staters, and we must be able to look at issues like our national symbols, national anthems, and respect them. You know, when you go to India, they are in a movie. Before the movie can start, everybody is forced to stand up and sing their national anthem. And anybody who will forsake that procedure actually goes to jail. Now, here at home, you find people still moving when the national anthem is sung. We want to say to the South Africans that unless we take ourselves seriously, we love and respect what we have, nobody will respect us. So let's start observing our national anthem, our national symbol, respecting them, loving our country, and respecting each other if we want to be respected by the outside world.
Well, so that's what we ought to do, and it makes sense. But how do we... Is it something that we can teach, or is it something that we have to inspire patriotism?
No, most certainly, but I just want to throw in something else into the mix as well. You see, national pride is to a country what self-esteem is to an individual. As one or other scholar, I can't remember his name, said. But because we are in an educative space, we don't want a patriotism that creates an uncritical view of ourselves. Because we only move through being self-critical as we move along. But for those of you who listen to the radios early in the morning, it does do something to you to listen to the national anthem, you know, starting your day in different kinds of ways. Whether one has to tie that to an uncritical patriotism is a question that these young people, and of course us in the school sector, as the MEC has said, has to put forward, because one of the great sense of solidarity with your country is to be respectfully critical of what you do as you move along in the different kinds of ways. So a critical eye is a sense of fidelity. It is not a sense of standing away from your country as well. So the patriotism that we have in mind may be something that might be closer to an idea of national solidarity, where you could have a kind of national pride in your country, but you can also stand up and critique what is going wrong in your country, and from that particular point of view, move ahead in different kinds of ways. And MEC Tate is correct. When we started the curriculum review in 1999, the principles has been included both in the curriculum which was called Curriculum 2005, and now also the new one that has come under the new minister as well. And so there is a way in which these kinds of things need to find better expression in our national consciousness to develop a sense of national pride.
All right. I'm going to try and get through as many of these questions as possible. So I'm going to ask you all to shorten your answers to these questions as they come. And we start with Zama on table 21. Zama Sihwebela.
Thanks a lot. Good morning to everyone. Mine is just to want to ask with regard to particularly the higher institutions of learning, regards to the language policy. Since you have students attending classes in Afrikaans and others in English, how then, what are the possibilities in terms of bringing the possible nation building in terms of the social cohesion, in terms of because the two separate an element of language and sports, it's one of the elements that would want to build the society. So how is the possibility, where does the possibility lies when you have two separate language of instruction? And the second question is, in terms of social cohesion, you would find that we have realized in many cases that people with disability, they are always left out. What are the possibilities that we can create programs and other events whereby we can include them and address as we are building the nation?
Okay, all right. So, for the educators, social cohesion, how can it happen when we're being taught in different languages?
Okay, thank you very much. I knew that question would come. We are very privileged as one of the 26 universities in South Africa that we have a language that has been developed to an academic level, and that is Afrikaans. And over the years, when you look at the history of the University of the Free State, at some point, the University of Free State taught in English only. And then there was discussions, and the policy was changed to English and Afrikaans. But over the past few years, there was that agitation that we could not avoid to say the University of the Free State is 71% black. And most of the people want to be taught in English. And it's not just that. It's double load for academics. But we said instead of just taking a decision, remember we value bottom-up kind of decision making. We say we have to open up conversation. And we have started with conversation. At the council meeting of 5 June, we took a decision to go through a process of reviewing the language policy of the University of the Free State. And we want to all the stakeholders to get involved. There's going to be discussion. There's going to be all sorts of, until we get to referendum by the students, by support staff, by academic staff, until we go to Senate, and until we go back to council. We are aware that where we want to be as a nation, in an inclusive manner, and so that everyone can actually get out of their comfort zone. But the bigger part for us, it's academic throughput rates, it's academic performance. So we will go with a language that takes our youth forward eventually.
Okay, MEC, very briefly, people with disabilities, they can often get marginalized and not included. Access, buildings, all these kinds of issues, but jobs as well. How do we get them part of this equation even more?
Well, you'll realize that the Premier has been taking a front row when it comes to addressing the issues of disability, women and children in particular, to ensure that we begin to bring them as part of the Free Staters. We have been requested and we are monitored to ensure that we have disabled people in the departments where we are working. Lifts have been put in places where people could previously not access buildings which they want to access, not only those lifts, other means for people to be able to access. Recently we had a meeting with people with albinism to ensure that we listen to them, we together draw up programs that will take them forward. So we are on course in addressing the challenge as raised by our brother there of people with disability in the Free State.
Okay, all right. We're going to take another quick break, and when we come back, we're going to get into the last few minutes of this conversation. I'll look at Twitter and also get some more questions on the floor, so stay with us.